Hello, hello. Welcome back to Lower Lap Time. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm doing well. I probably don't look as well as I'm doing. I got a bit of a cold, bit of a runny nose. This time of year, it's spring, and all these flowers and pollen and stuff is everywhere, so I get a little bit sneezy. But I am doing well. If you see me reach for the tissues, don't worry about me. I'm all good. Sorry, Lou Sequoia says, "Good morning from Quebec." Hello. Max Flashheart says, "Hey, hey." Guy named Ridiculous says, "I'm from the great southern land, my friend. Presumably you're talking about Australia, mate." Which is awesome. We need to get behind Oscar at this point. I think he needs our, I think he needs our help at this point. So I'm gonna we'll talk about it. There's a lot of things that I want to go through. We'll talk about it in the driver's mentality section. So just quick overview of the agenda, weather, driver's mentality section. In that section, I just pick someone and I'm like, here's crunch time for this driver. Here's what they need to do. This weekend, I've selected Oscar Jack. Sprint weekend, I'm going to talk to you guys about my philosophy for the sprint weekend. It's very different to what the teams normally do. So I'll brush you up with the regulations and the tyre allocations, and we'll talk about what I reckon should be done. Track map, very technical track here. I'm going to show it off to you guys. We're going to run through it in detail. I'm just looking at it now. There's sets of corners that are highly technical. So we'll get to that. Compounds and strategy. Pirelli bringing a harder compound this weekend. You can overtake around here, but it is an aero wash championship. So we'll talk to it. Predictions, turn one, lap one, a break, and then I'll take your questions. So if you do have a question, save it to the end. Or if you're loaded, you can just super chat it and I'll answer it immediately. Cool. We're clear? Umash, good morning. Good evening, Martin from India. Good evening. I hope you're going well. Mr. Alex. Welcome, oh yeah, hot shoes, go fasters from Sebring International Raceway. The Stray King, greetings from Dubai, rooting for Oscar Jack Piastri. You and me, the striking, whatever, the striking. You and me, mate, we got a lot of work to do. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the weather as we normally do. I'll bring it up straight away and we'll get into it. This is the context for the weekend. Bang, there it is. I love this weather. I love talking to you guys about the weather. I know you might find it boring, but this is, trust me, this is insightful. Have a look at this. What are we talking about? Okay, so 29, 30, 34, 26. So very hot. Rain, Sunday morning. I don't think that's necessarily going to have implications on the race, but what it means is that we're gonna just clean the track. You'll hear often green track. Green means clean. That's what might happen Sunday morning. Probably in the early hours. That's 10 mil. It's decent. So if that comes, everything you practice on Friday and Saturday, all that rubbering in, yeah, it might be hard. There might be a bit of graining early on in the race, something that you'll have to think about. Just quickly, graining means overheating of the surface, but the core temperature not quite there. And blistering is the other way around. Blistering is overheating of the core temperature and just erupts through the surface. So probably, yeah. So Sunday, it'll rubber in. Obviously, you've got the sprint and a million cars going around. And then that rain, we'll see what impact that has. But hot temperatures, windy as well. We're going to keep an eye out for that. 3, 4, 5 meters per second, so increasing over the weekend as well. In terms of wind direction, temperature, and rain, unfortunately, they only give 3 days here, so I can't tell you exactly when the rain's going to come. You guys are already talking about the S's, which is mad. I'll get to it. The wind is coming from south to southeast, from south to southeast direction. I'll bring you guys over to the track map. That means, therefore, it's coming from here or here. We'll talk to it when we go to the... we'll talk to it now. All right, so what implication is this going to have? Well, I think it's a crosswind in a lot of the corners. So if I just draw in red... yeah, okay, it'll help braking into turn one, and it's going to give problems, maybe traction on exit. But I feel like the biggest drama is like turning into turn 6 and turning into turn 8. With that wind pushing you across like that. I think, and they're already challenging corners. This is a candidate for the tight line. We're going to talk to it. But again, when you're trying to turn into turn 15, you've got that wind pushing you out that way. That's a problem. And then getting into these two as well will be a problem as well. So I think it's a lateral wind. It's coming across the car, and it's not like, parallel to any of the straights per se, unless we get this one coming from the southeast. Clear as mud. Does that make sense? So I think the guys are going to struggle, like particularly Sunday with the race, to turn the car into some of these corners. If I just clear like some of the rubbish I've drawn here, we're talking about those ones. That one, not necessarily. That one, that one, that one, that one, that one. There, those four. Clear? So they're going to be really hard to just get the car in. You know, we've got such big, heavy, clumsy dinosaur Formula One cars. So they're hard to turn. They're heavy, they weigh a lot. And when they've got a full tank of fuel, yeah, it's even harder. Nothing else to see here, really. Temperature and wind. Yeah, just the wind that's coming up throughout the weekend. You can see that in purple. It's coming up throughout the weekend during the evenings as well. So that's race time. All right, let's get into it, guys. Driver's mentality section and who needs to do what. It's got to be Oscar Piastri. We've got to talk about him. I put out a poll during the week, you guys may have seen, and it was like I messed it up. It was meant to be a poll. I think it was a quiz. I think I put a quiz and it said like, what do you guys think about it? Was it like, you know, good, hard, fair racing from Lando, or was it BS from, you know, from McLaren and their papaya rules? I think we can all agree. I think the world agrees. We're all on the same page here. Yes, it was a decent move from Lando. Get up the inside, attack on lap one, try to control the corner, meet the apex, blah, blah, blah. Take your opportunities, tick, tick, tick. Like, we get it from Lando's point of view, like, fine. But he broke the papaya rules, which is don't touch your teammate. Now, Oscar's been warned about this up to this point, like, oh, that was too close, Oscar. You don't want to do that. Don't touch your teammate. Don't touch Lando. And then you get that, like, full bump. And it was like, he was trying to avoid Max. And it's like, yeah, but he was trying to avoid Max and did not give consideration to Oscar. That's the key part there. So Lando broke the papaya rules. And like, look, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of is there favoritism or not. I don't know. But it looks like it. You'd be forgiven for thinking that there was. I mean, if you add up, if you know, you could put together a big narrative and a big story this year that says, well, based on this, 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 and this, then, you know, it's pretty clear that there is favoritism. Again, I'm not sure. But yeah, let's take a look at this one firstly. Have a look at this picture, guys. I'll show you this. So this was Austria. Oscar was chasing Lando and Tom Stella comes over. Feedback from the pit wall. So this is funny because this is not Tom. This is like someone else in Tom's ear. Who could that be? Write it in the chat. Who would that be? Feedback from the pit wall. It can't be Lando's race engineer, because the race engineers are on the same level. It's got to be someone above that. It's either Zach, Stella, or Run Deep. So it's one of those three. Let me know who you think it is. Feedback from the pit wall. Let me know, guys. I'll be keen to see who you think it is. The maneuver in turn 4 with the lockup was too marginal. We can't do that again. Okay, cool. Didn't actually hit him, just attempted a move. I mean, Oscar's in full control. He's having a go. Like, you got to have a bite at your teammate. Oscar's trying to toe that line between I want to attack him, but I don't want to hit him. That's a really difficult line to traverse. And Oscar nearly hit him, but didn't. And then in Hungary, a similar sort of thing happened after they left when Lando on the one stop. Tom Stellard says, remember how we go racing, Oscar. Keep it clean. Never really hit him again. So I guess when you see these two examples, you're kind of like, Oscar's in control. Like he's not out of control. So he just locked up. You guys are writing in the chat, it's Zach, is it? Wow. You guys reckon that first one, feedback from the pit wall was from Zach. Estonia Duck, Zach. Max Flashheart, Zach. Andrew the Trader, Zach. Catherine Wright. Zach's in trouble here. Yeah, another comment. Zach and Randeep seem to like Lando much more. Yeah, this is tricky. And like you just can't have it. Even if there is a perceived perception, you can't have that. You just can't have that, particularly when you're all about your papaya rules and how we go racing and everything. Anyway, so that's the first piece. But then you've got the McLaren celebrations on the podium. I'll bring it up on the screen. We'll have a look at it together now. Oh yeah, I had to cut the audio out here, but have a look at this. It all happens so quick, man. I can't talk you guys through it. Give me a sec. So this is Carlos Sainz's interview. Oscar walks in shot. Oscar glances over. Let me just bring this message down. Zach, absolutely. Okay, there we go. Let me just bring this message down. So Oscar glances at the screen. He's probably thinking, you You little C's, you know what I mean? He's looking at them going, yep. He doesn't even give it much time. He looks back straight away in disgust and then just touches his nose. When you see body language, a body language expert would be able to like analyze this better than me. But that's a sign of like, just, that's a sign of something. He's not comfortable. Let's put it that way. And then he doesn't care. He just looks straight. There it is again. I don't know, guys. And then you get this, right? Look at him cheering in the background. Like this is not on, guys. This is not cool. Look at them cheering in the background. That's not cool. Don't do that to our Oscar. Oscar deserves better than that. That's the first thing I'll say. I think we're all on the same page here. Them celebrating while your championship leader, mind you, is down there waiting for the pen. Like, now look, they'll come up with all sorts of excuses and they'll say, we had to, the FIA told us to, that we are all on the podium and there was Lando on the podium or whatever, it was the timing, and they'll come up with all this crap. But at the end of the day, there's no excuse for that, because you can say, no. Hang on a second. We want to celebrate as a team. Oscar's down there. Just give us 5 minutes. He'll do his interviews. Bang, we'll celebrate as a team. Very easily done. So that one kind of rubbed me the wrong way, in addition to the way they handled, the way they've handled the accident. And then you've got the juxtaposition of Oscar furious and then McLaren celebrating all in one shot. Good camera work. Then you get this one, the radio message.
Oscar, back-to-back champions. Good race, tough race. Thank you for...
Unplugs the radio. Good job, Oscar. I'll play it again in case you missed it.
Oscar, back-to-back champions. Good race, tough race. Thank you for...
Now, I'll tell you the most interesting thing about this for me. Everyone's focused on Oscar unplugging the radio. I get it. He unplugged the radio. He's pissed, right? But Zach Brown's words, have a listen to them again, because you might not have heard them properly.
Oscar, back-to-back champions. Good race, tough race. Thank you for...
Thank you for No. Thank you for being the majority points holder at McLaren. Thank you for being the largest contributor to this championship. Thank you for being the world championship leader. Thank you for being the amazing driver, role model, person, athlete that you are, Oscar Piastri. Why is it so hard to get those words out of Zach Brown's mouth? Now, you guys were saying it before, right? Zach. Yeah, that's a piece that I picked up there. Thank you for... I'm not sure what to thank you for, you know, mate. Take a seat, Zach Brown. Come on, cuz, what are you talking about? It's rubbish. Oscar Piastri has every right to be upset, and hopefully with this channel we can help him this weekend. I'm going to have my lens on Oscar and his driving this weekend, and I think he deserves better than that. So yeah, if I see something in sprint quali, if you guys want to send me an onboard from sprint quali, I will analyze it to the best of my ability. And we'll try to get Oscar like just back to what he deserved to have, right? So that's Sticky. Max Flashheart, Zach Clown. Wow, big one, exactly. Interesting. Wow, Oscar didn't unplug. There was a delay. He didn't hear the full message. Well, it like possibly. I mean, but it like. You could forgive him for unplugging. Do you know what I mean? Like, and even if he didn't unplugged, my point still stands. Thank you for what? Like, you know, you got to be. This is your world championship leader. You know, put some respect on Oscar Piastri's name. Come on, cuz. So he's got every right to be upset. So what would be my advice if I was talking to Oscar Piastri in an open conversation on YouTube to a few hundred people? This would be my advice to Oscar Piastri. Forget about McLaren. Forget about what they say, what they don't say, the pit wall. Forget about those guys. We've won the championship now. Like, forget about it. You might not never get this opportunity again in your lifetime, to be honest. Like, you go back to through Fernando Alonso's career. He had those two championship years at the start. He took them both. I'd argue that Lando had a better chance in 2024, or a chance in 2024. But yeah, this is an opportunity. Go for it. Don't let these McLaren guys try to screw you over. That's the first thing. The second thing I'd say is double down on racecraft. Yes, we can focus on Lando's little slide and they touched and whose fault was it and papaya rules and blah, blah, blah. But hang on. Oscar, mate, the inside is so much more valuable. You got to protect and cover the inside. It's very important. And I think in this particular example, he left Lando a little bit of a gap and Lando took it. And I don't blame Lando for that per se. You know, he just didn't take the right care, but he went for it. And I'm a racer and you got to go for it. So yeah, I'd say to Oscar, like brush up on the racecraft. Forget McLaren. That's all rubbish. Brush up on the racecraft piece. Let's have a look at it together. So this is the aerial shot from Singapore. And you can see Oscar's not thinking about his inside at all. If anything, he's thinking about, okay, let's get a nice run through turn 3 and maybe start to attack Max down the other straight. He's the widest of all of the cars, left that big green arrow. Now, he might have thought, hey, Lando's my teammate. He's not going to attack me. He shouldn't attack me. But yeah, and that's where I would say to Oscar, brush up on the racecraft, Oscar. Like that's not, yeah, you've always got to take self-responsibility and self-accountability. So what I would say is go back to the young Oscar, be free Oscar, attack Oscar, like defend Oscar. Don't be, you know, last couple of races like Baku and this one, his racecraft has taken a big drop. And I think he's feeling the pinch of the pressure. And who could blame him? He's gone for his first Formula One World Championship. He's in his 3rd year of F1. So it's a massive achievement to get into this position. Be free Oscar, swing freely. It's like a tennis player on match point who is like, you know, you tighten up on match point now because you've got something to lose. Whereas the guy down match point is like, oh, well, maybe I'm going to lose anyway. I might as well go for it. And then how often do you see them hit a winner or a mad shot and goes back to juice? Oscar's a little bit tight. This is tight driving in terms of under pressure. Like he looks a little bit handcuffed. No, Oscar, be free. That's the sort of driving that got you into this position to start with. Go for it, Oscar. The sky belongs to no one, my friend. I hope that helps. I'll be analyzing his driving this weekend. All right, let's talk about the sprint weekend. I'll just bring you guys' question down. Surf Oz, Oscar left the inside open. He's giving Lando way too much room. Exactly, you took the words right out of my mouth. So I think that's Oscar needs to dot his I's and cross his T's. I don't want to come down hard on Oscar for this, but there's definitely more that he could have done to prevent Papaya Rules clown show that happened. So yeah, I'd encourage Oscar to control the controllables and forget about McLaren. All right, let's talk about the sprint weekend. I'm going to brush you guys up to date with the regulations. And then I'm going to tell you guys my seems to be a unique approach that I have. Sprint weekend, let me just bring the questions down. Okay, so we've got FP1 tomorrow. Well, depending on what time zone you're on. And then sprint qualifying. I'll come back to this. This is a very important day for me. All the days are really important, but like, yeah, there's no mucking around here. Then you've got the sprint, points for top 8. This is important for Oscar because these count like, what's he got? 22-point lead, only 5-6 races to go. This is important. The sprints are important as well. And then qualifying is very important. I'd argue that these 2 days arguably are more important than the Grand Prix of Sunday. We've spoken about a qualifying championship. We've got S's here. It's going to be aero wash heaven. Yes, it will be, you know, it may be possible to pass depending on what they've done with the DRS zone. But the tires are so fragile and there's so much aero wash. And we spoke about the wind, that crosswind in the S's as well. It's going to be tricky to follow. Our driving friends don't know much about the tight line and how to leverage it. We'll talk to it. But I feel like Friday and Saturday, I got my lens on those 2 days to try to have a good weekend. Quickly read it out to you with the tire allocation. This is really important. On a Formula One sprint weekend, teams have a reduced allocation of 12 sets compared to the usual 13 sets. This is 6 soft, so you're hammered with soft. 4 mediums, you need the mediums. They're a good tire. And 2 sets of hards, which you might not need in qualifying or in the race. But a lot of teams will practice on that hard. And this is where the teams go wrong, I think. The teams look at it and go, oh, we got 6 sets of hards and 4 sets of mediums. We need all of those. Don't touch those. We'll keep them brand new. Let's do practice on the hards. We got 2 sets of them and we probably won't use them in qualifying on the race. Okay, cool. But your assessment in qualifying is on which compound of tire. It's not a hard compound tire, so you can forget that tire. I'm not interested in it. It's useless. I'd leave them in the blankets all weekend long. Your assessment is on the medium and the soft. That's what you're going to be assessed on. How well does that tire warm up? How does it last during the lap? Does the traction last the whole way through? Did the rears get too hot? Did the fronts get too hot? How do you switch it on? Like I say, how does it manage the temperature? Play around with the pressures a little bit. Get the setup for that compound of tire is very important. If you're mucking around on Friday on the hard compound, watch, you'll see the engineers like, oh, we don't want to touch those because we want the best medium. We want the freshest one. But they know nothing about it. And then come their assessment here, they get hammered, right? And Haas did this really well in the last sprint that we did in, what's his name? Spa, Belgium. Haas did this really well. They were going around on the medium. They qualified on the medium. Now, look, the only counter argument for this would be, hang on, you're using the medium in practice. So I'm saying use one of the 4 sets in practice. You use one in SQ1, you use one in SQ2, and then you probably use another one in the sprint. The only argument would be to say, hang on, you've used all 4 sets of mediums, but they're not gone. They don't disappear. They're not unusable for the rest of the weekend. The ones you use in SQ1, they're lightly scrubbed. They've done 3 laps. You can still use them in the race, no problem. So that's where I reckon that's the way to go. I'm pretty clear on that. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. This is really important for me, is getting through, because it's so close this year and it's easy to look stupid. So you definitely don't want that. I'd also be practicing on the soft as well, because again, your assessment will be on the soft compound of tire. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Go back and watch it if it doesn't make sense. But yeah, I'm essentially saying practice on what you're going to be assessed on. And in the race, it doesn't mean that tire is gone. It just means it's lightly scrubbed. It's done an out lap, a flying lap, and a hot lap. And now it's got to do 25 or 30 laps in the race. Big deal. So I think that's the way to go. Okay, just before we go over to the track map, very technical circuit. I want to ask you guys in the chat, quick question. And it's not a trick question. What makes a technical circuit? You guys let me know in the chat. And I need to blow my nose 5 seconds. And take a drink. Sorry, I'm not well. Let me know in the chat, what makes a technical circuit? What makes this a technical circuit? What makes anything a technical section? I think Leclerc said it once. He was like, oh yeah, the technical section down the back. And in my opinion, it wasn't technical. So they talk, when it's slow speed, for example, they say it's technical. But I want to hear from you guys if you've been following the channel for a while. Hopefully you'll be able to get this one quickly and then be able to take it a step far and say, well, where are the technical aspects and what do you need to do? Dab Tej got it first. A technical track needs technical corners. Bang. Catherine Wright, a good mix of different types of technical corners. Perfect. David US, quick direction changes? Not necessarily. No, you need technical corners. Too many types of corners, one after the other, especially when you've got to compromise. Not necessarily either. Corner combinations can be one thing, but I'm looking for the types and the geometries of corners. Frank, combinations, straight, slow, and fast corners. Not necessarily either. Fast direction changes. Okay. So, I mean, you guys are not wrong here. Corners that lead into another. One bad corner and it ruins a sector. High corner density. Okay, a lot of corners. If you look at a track like Monaco, for example, like turn 1, like through Portier, for example, slow speed and then to back. So like what are those corners are non-technical corners. The thing that makes it hard is you've got no space, but it's not necessarily a technical track per se. If I jump you over to the track map, like I say, you guys are not necessarily wrong. I don't want to disagree, but I just want to add another element of color to it. In my opinion, a technical track needs technical corners. So given that many of you guys didn't quite follow me there, a couple of you guys did. But yeah, I've got 7 technical corners. Why is this helpful? Why is this a helpful framework? I can't spell. I can't talk and spell at the same time. So just bear with me 2 seconds while I write this out. Seven technical corners. Technical track needs some of them. Why is this an important framework? Well, because if you take chicanes in Imola and your car's good in chicanes and it's good riding curbs, it'll probably be good in Canada. And if it's good in Canada, it'll probably be good in Monza as well. Or if you're driving techniques as well in the way you set up the car, there's correlation there. If you've got long corners like Hungary and your car's a machine around Hungary, it might be a machine around Netherlands as well, because again, you've got long corners. So I'm just picking at different sets of corners. Max has got pole on the 2 tracks that have S's so far, being Silverstone and Suzuka. This is the only other track that has a set of S's. So that's why my tip is Max for pole, because Max is a machine in S's. I would argue that it's Max's best corner type. Of the 7 technical corners, I'd argue that Max's best is S's. Let's run through them. So you got 4 on one side and 3 on the other side. So you've got S's on this side. These 4 are not related. Hairpin, chicane, and double apex, or triple or quadruple apex, multiple apex. Like turn, what's that one in Istanbul? The quadruple apex or double apex that you get in Suzuka, for example. And then here you got your 3 long corners: increasing radius, decreasing radius, and constant radius. So these are your 3 long corners. We don't actually have too many of them. Oh yeah, we do have one actually. So I'll call them out to you as we go through. First one's a hairpin, bang. Second one's a set of S's, bang. Hairpin, bang. This one over here is a decreasing radius, do, bang. There's your 4th one. Is that it? Yeah, and the last 2 corners don't seem to be anything too technical. They're quite straightforward. This one you could argue is a long corner, but it wouldn't fit my definition of a long corner of constant radius. It's more of an acceleration zone. So you've got 4 technical corners, but a set of S's, decreasing radius corner, and 2 hairpins. So I think this is a cool track. And then you've got also the high speed to go with it. So that's really important as well. Downforce significantly active in this section of racetrack. Have a look at this: 255, 280, 280, 260, 240, 145, 255. Man, they're quick corners. And so downforce is massively active through this section. This section of racetrack, they might refer to it as technical. There's only one technical corner here, turn 15, the decreasing radius. But downforce is not significantly active, 110, 150, 85 through that. So 90 over here as well. So these are quite clumsy corners just because downforce is not with you. There's nothing technical about 2 right-handers. Actually, potentially that's an increasing radius because your traction and building through there as well. Maybe that one's increasing. But there's nothing technical about a slow speed right-hander. It's just you haven't got downforce with you, so it's a little bit... but does that make sense? What do you guys say? At Paloma, usually S's are high speed and Max tend to be the best in high speed, plus the Red Bull. I agree. Tick, tick, tick. Very good. 100% agree. Uphill banked S's carousel. We haven't got one of them. The McLaren is good in long corners. Very true, because it's got a lot of front grip. That's true. That's why they hammered in Hungary and Netherlands. Very true. That's interesting. Is why is Max best in the S's? We answered it before. It's just when downforce is significantly active, Max can use that better than anyone. Downforce is a driving tool that not many people talk about. People talk about how you use the brake, steering, and throttle, and that's it. Well, hang on a minute. Brake, steer, throttle, gears, diff, brake balance, engine braking, and downforce. How you use downforce it's also one of your tools. So how you drive with downforce when it's significantly active versus how you drive with downforce when it's not significantly active is one of your tools and techniques as well. So Max is a machine through here. Purple Max Verstappen. All right, so let's take a look. Let me show you guys. I'll show you guys. Let's have a quick analysis of last year's quali. Give me a sec. Get lost. Go away. Have a look. Where is it? That one. Can you guys see this? Wait. All right. So 24 last year. Austin, Texas, United States. Quali. Norris, Verstappen. Oh, I need to talk to you guys about the tight line as well. I'll talk about that in a sec. Very important. The race was between these two. Well, Leclerc was leading, but give me a sec. I'll pull your question down. Max and Os are both good to races. Yes, sweet. All right, check this out. So if you don't believe me, see this speed here? Can you guys read this? I'll make it nice and big for you. You see that blue speed that's like, as these S's go on, and by the way, a big a big indicator of S's or a big sign of S's is they get slower as you go through them. That's very important. It would be very unusual to have a set of S's that gets quicker as they go through. In my opinion, that would be a different corner type, actually, like a set of S's that you build up. Sorry. Yeah, you build up the speed through would be, it's almost not a set of S's, because once you've gotten through the first part, so like if you're coming in this direction, once you've got through the first, the rest is like almost just flat. So it's really like those corners. Whereas what makes a set of S's unique is that they get tighter as they go through. And so like they feed into each other, and that is a set of S's. So that's very important. And that's what in my definition, what defines a set of S's. Okay, so you see this, check this out. This is Max Verstappen keeping his foot flat in places where Lando Norris is lifting. Give me a sec, I'll square this up for you. I know it's a pain in the ass, give me a sec. There you go, see that? You see that blue line? That's a throttle trace. Bang, it's straight like a laser. That's Max just keeping his foot welded to the floor through here. Look at the track map. Through the first part of the S's, which is good. That's the right technique. Remember, they get tighter later. The first one's easy. The second one's a little bit harder, but still easy. So it's like the first one's very easy. Then it's easy. Then it's medium. Then it's hard. And then it's very hard. Max is not showing any respect to the first part of S's. Perfect. Beautiful driving. Why and you see Lando's lifts, they're getting bigger. Again, because the S's are getting tighter. Max has just found a line that he can just cut through. Perfect. Lovely technique. And he's using downforce. Better. He's not using like brake, steer, throttle. The throttle's flat. The brake's doing nothing. It's all line, confidence, commitment, but trust using the downforce. Have a look at this. So yeah, that's really interesting. Lando lifts in the first one. He lifts in the second one. He lifts earlier in the third one. And he gets caned in that section. That's why it's highlighted blue in terms of track dominance. Now, Max Verstappen is an edge-to-edge racing driver. What does that mean? He'll sweep in from the furthest part of the track. He'll hit the apex, and he'll normally end up like on the outside and use all of the exit on the exit. But I think there's an opportunity for a tight line in turn 8 and between 7 and 8. And I'd argue that Lando did a better job here. And I'll talk about Franco's line in here, which I really liked this time last year. Interesting. The only part that it flashes orange in the first sector is through turn 8. I've been saying for a while, Max is, Max not quite across the tight line. That's the only thing I have over him at the moment because, yeah, if you watch his Silverstone quali lap, for example, he was mega in the S's, but he couldn't turn the car into turn 3. So there hasn't quite I don't think he's quite understood it yet, or someone hasn't explained it to him properly. But yes, he's losing time in the direction change where the tight line is. Let me show you where I'm talking about. And we'll just make this a little bit bigger. Regular viewers of the channel, you'll know. When there's a direction change with a significant track width, which we have here, from slow speed, or in this case, it's slower speed. Give me a sec. Slower speed, then the tight line is your friend. So if you say to someone, draw the racing line here. Okay. Hit the apex here, here. I mean, I've drawn that really badly. Let me start again. So they'll be like, okay. So they draw and hit the apex, sweep out, apex, out, and they're covering too much distance, right? I've drawn it really badly for exaggeration, for effect. What I'm trying to highlight to you guys is that they're touching the edges, always touching these edges of the racetrack, right? Now, you've got to look at this section and say, well, there's an opportunity to drive a tight line through here. Why? Because there's a significant track width across here. A direction change needs to happen. You don't need to bring the car across to the right-hand side. You might think you do, but you don't. And that's the reality. Let me show it to you guys. So it's really through here that I'm checking. So through here and then into 8. So the problem a lot of drivers do is that they come across and meet with that part of the racetrack, and you don't need to. When you ask the car to go one way and then the other way, the car doesn't like that very sudden change of direction, like go that way. No, go that way. The car doesn't like being directed what to do in that sense. It likes being told, go that way. All right, prepare to turn, start to come with me, go, turn. It likes that kind of transition point, right? So what you need to do is come through here, and then just all you got to do is straighten the steering wheel and go straight and dive into the apex. Now you might think, well, I can't carry speed into the corner from that position. And you think, well, I need to be on the outside here. You can't actually carry the speed you want to carry from that position into the corner. You won't make it in, trust me. You'll understeer, fronts will slide, bang, 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 you lose time like that. So you actually get more front grip by keeping the car straighter and turning in. And number two, which is really unspoken about, is if I highlight it in blue, you save this extra meters, which is cool. Like a little win. You save this distance across here. It's less fast driving. Let me show you guys a picture, a really important picture. If you learn nothing out of this preview, remember this picture. There you go. This is Lando on his pole lap. And I would say, okay, on your pole lap maybe, but listen, on your pole lap, you've got soft tires, light car. The car's a lot more agile. It might be able to sweep across the track. However, in the race, and I would argue, by the way, I'd still be doing tight line in qualifying because it would just be my line. But I'd argue the race is more important for it. And this lost Lando hit the win, I reckon, because he was behind Max at one point with fresher tires, and he was struggling with the aero wash through this section of the racetrack, which meant he couldn't get close enough down the back straight. I'll talk to you guys about that in a second. But this is Franco's line. Now, another common misconception is, well, when you turn in from wider, then you use less steering angle. So if I go back to the whiteboard, if you turn in from red over here, you'll use less steering angle because the corner is more open. It's not true. What you're going to do from there, you want to carry more speed in. And in order to carry that speed in, you've got to actually put more lock to get the car further in. Whereas with green, you just turn it a little bit and bang, you've met your apex. You don't actually need to turn the wheel that much. So have a look at this. Bang. That's Lando's steering lock. Let's call it about 45 degrees. And that's Franco in the Williams on the mediums, just like crazy. Now, you gauge the distance across the left here. Lando's closer to this white line over here. Franco's not. When I saw this last year from Franco, and we couldn't characterize him, we didn't know much about his driving technique, I was like, man, who taught Franco this? Like this is actually like advanced. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure Max fully understands the tight line, when to use it, and how powerful it is. I saw this from Franco and I was like, who taught him that? But then, he went on to not use it in other places as well. It just came naturally to Franco. So in a way, it's like lazy driving because he couldn't be bothered to go all the way to the other side to come this side. He's just like, I'll just turn it in from mid-track. So, but in a way, it's like lazy, but he feels that going to the left is an extra effort that's unnecessary. Interesting. I feel like if Franco was nurtured in the right hands, like I'm not sure he'd be able to explain exactly what he's doing here, but if he was nurtured in the right hands, I feel like it could be very good. A lot of drivers have that, like, could be very good as well. But they don't, coaches and mentors are a luxury. Sorry, guys, I'm still struggling with hay fever. So yeah, like I say, if you remember one thing from this live stream, remember this, and keep an eye out for this in the race. Why is this important? Well, let me show you. Now that you know how the tight line works and in which situations it's applicable, what it's going to allow you to do is get close to the rear wing of the car you're following. Let's say you go mid-track here and bang, you turn it in with the tight line. And our friend in, let's say, purple turns in from out here. What it's going to allow you to do is get right up against the rear wing. You haven't got aero wash in that phase of the corner. Look, you're offsetting your line. You get into the corner a little bit earlier. You get the apex, and then you can get right underneath the rear wing of the car in front. And then all you got to do is follow them down this straight. Yes, your exit is slightly compromised, but look how much closer to the rear wing you are. You're right underneath the rear wing. And then he's going to pull you down. Your bad exit is made up for how close you get to the rear wing, which is important. And then you get a lovely toe down here, and then you get a lovely toe. Now, Lando Norris, you can start to attack. The work has to be done back here, turn 8. So what Lando was doing wrong was he was not offsetting his line, not driving a tight line. Lando was tucked in behind, if I draw Lando in red, tucked in behind this purple line and getting aero washed to heaven down here, not getting underneath the rear wing, and too far away to get this slipstream and too far away to attack down the back straight DRS. That's all started back here at turn 8. I encourage you to watch that race back, or at least the section where Lando came out on new tires. Came out on fresher tires behind Max. And you'll see that this is the corner where the damage was being done for Lando. Turn 8. He couldn't find a solution to the dirty air with that one. Now, you guys may have seen the video from Driver 61. I think Divinason, you brought it to my attention and you said, like, have a look at this. And it was about drivers pointing away from the corner that they're going into. I have to be honest with you guys, in my opinion, that's not how it works. Like, he was suggesting that offers more grip, I believe. In my opinion, that's not how it works. If anything, telling the car to go one way and then another way is a big no-no. And that's highlighted in corners like turn 8, because you want to keep the steering wheel straighter before you turn in. It gives you more front grip. If you go left and then go right, the car's not going to like that. Formula One cars are very good at masking bad technique because they're so reactive. They're so good in direction change. And yeah, they can actually mask a bad technique quite well. But there's a better way, which is the tight line, and says you don't need to point your car across. The only reason they do that is to avoid all of the marbles and rubbish down one side. Just come across when they need to, open up the corner and go from there. There's nothing more scientific about it than that. Harry 31, the shape and direction of the next corner will play a big part in whether or not you opt for a tight line. There's a couple of factors. I think I've said it on the channel a few times. If there's a direction change into a long corner with significant track width from slow speed, in this case, it's slower speed. That one's not a full tick, but the other ticks are there. Direction change, significant track width into a long corner. Then you want to play yourself a tight line. Have a look at Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc, ghost car, final corner in Hungary, if you don't believe me. Oh yeah, I put a poll out. How's that going? What did my poll say? Let me have a look. Sprint poll, Max 61%. Yeah, so I think Max will get polled because in the first sector, he'll be a machine. And I think they've solved for their slow speed stuff. Like, their slow speed issues. I think they've cleaned it up. And if Max gets pole, it'll be hard to overtake him, particularly if you're not aware of the tight line, how to use it and so on. I think Max, just first sector, he'll be too strong. And this is a track where downforce is significantly active. You can hammer the brake pedal into turn 1 uphill with all of that downforce on the car. You can brake at the 30-meter board if there was one, because you can just kind of get away with that sort of thing. Even into turn 12, you can brake very late as well. Turn 11 hairpin is another one you can brake really late in. And so Max loves that. Like, when downforce is significantly active, I agree with you guys in the poll. It's 152 votes. 61% have voted Max. 7% have voted George. Why I don't think it'll be George is because I feel like the Mercedes is good in mechanical grip. Ian, if he's listening, is going to kill me for saying it because he hates the term mechanical grip. His argument is always, well, downforce is always present. The moment the car is doing 1 kilometer an hour, 2 kilometers an hour, air is flowing over the car, and aerodynamics are active, therefore. And it's true. That's true. And my argument is always like, yeah, difference in extent. At 250, you're generating a lot more downforce. That's how you're generating most of your grip. At slower speed, 60, 70, maybe in early 100s, downforce is not that significant, and you're getting your grip from other aspects, the suspension, your weight distribution, other things are contributing to how much grip you have. Whereas when the downforce takes over, it takes over. So I feel like the George and the Mercedes are better in those situations without the downforce and just the suspension and mechanics of the car giving the grip. So you'll probably see that show up in Vegas. So I don't think George. Bailando, I mean, like, he had the car to get pole in Singapore. Lando's qualifying has not been good this year. He's been out qualified by Oscar like a lot lately. Hungary, Netherlands, Singapore, Monza. I think Lando got him by 1 spot. I don't think it'll be by Lando. Oscar potentially is, yeah. So you guys are on the right page, I think, with Max getting most of the votes. Oscar second. Okay. Sweet. Let's have a look at the compounds and strategy. I'll take your questions in a minute, but we'll just go through strategy. We haven't got much to go through, so we'll just go through strategy. What else do I need to tell you guys? If I look at the track map quickly. Yeah, the decreasing radius one. Should we talk about that one quickly? Just quickly. So this one's an important one, turn 15. The drivers are pretty good at this. Like I see generally good technique here. So I see like you've got to use your engine braking. Whenever it's slow speed and downforce is not significantly active, pull back with the gears really hard. Number one, it helps you slow down the car. Number two, it helps you with your rotation in such a corner. So that's really important. Important you get the steering wheel straight and accelerate for a little bit before you come across to take the racing line. You'll see a lot of drivers like with residual steering lock in just start to come across early. That costs you traction, my friend. That heats up your rear tires. Turning and accelerating at the same time is not what you want to do. Keep the steering wheel straight for a fraction, go straight, and then bring the car across later. That's what you need to do there. So that's an important corner, 15 for rear tire life. This is an aero wash corner. That's an aero wash corner. And this corner doesn't do much for me either. So with the crosswind, this is going to be hard. And yeah, Max is a machine breaking into 12 and 11 hairpin as well, breaking into turn 1. So that's all I just wanted to talk to you guys about 15. Give me a sec. Sorry, I'm struggling here. Okay. We need to talk about the compounds. This is an important story, and they're trying. Bless them, they're trying. Let's have a look. The United States Grand Prix will be the second race of the season for which Pirelli is bringing 3 non-consecutive compounds. That's a great way of saying we have random compounds this weekend. The last being Spa. Okay, how'd that go? Did we get variation in Spa? I don't think so. And the available tyres will be once again C1 is the hard, C3 is the medium, C4 is the soft. All right, cool. In Belgium, bad weather meant it was not possible to find out how this choice might have affected strategy. And so the event in Coda could be the first real test. So the idea is, if I can translate this for you, they want to bring the C3, C4, and C2. But that C2 is a very usable race tyre, and it's going to get you to the end. So they're saying, let's make that C2, let's push that further out, let's go to the C1, the very hard compound. And therefore, in the hope that the teams think, the C1's a little bit too hard, we won't go near it. I feel like what's going to end up happening is, instead of doing like 20 laps on the medium and then 40 laps on the hard, they'll just push the medium like another few more laps. Like they'll just do 30 on the medium and 30 on this rock, probably. That's what I feel like, but we'll see. Anyway, the increased performance difference between the hardest compound and the middle one should theoretically give rise to 2 scenarios. Number one, if a driver prefers the C1, the slowest but the most consistent of the 3, then they could run a run-stop strategy combining it with the C3. Okay, that's what I just said. On the other hand, using the latter along with the C4 with its improved resistance to degradation would produce quicker lap times, but would certainly require 2 stops. So they're saying if you use the C3, like they're talking about doing a 2-stop C3 and C4. You'll have a quick race car, but you'll be hammered in the first sector with aero wash. It's going to be very ugly. And that tire can overheat very quickly and be destroyed. I still think track position is very important. I'd start on the medium and go until you put this rock on. Or maybe even you switch over to the C4 if you've done enough distance on the C3. That's what I feel like the way to go, but we'll see. Another similarity with the Belgian round is that Austin is running a sprint, which means teams have only 1 hour to try various options over long and short runs, which could add to the uncertainty. Yeah, it's an opportunity for them to blow it. Okay, cool. End poll. Max wins. Okay, cool. So look, let me just summarize here. I feel like, just given that the way the season has gone, with aero wash being a massive factor, the downforce is so much, the aero wash is huge. And yeah, we spoke about this in the Mind the Machine podcast, that we need to keep our downforce, but we need to find a way to do it in such a way that the cars can follow. We're back to square one with the same problem. I feel like the C3, you start with that and then go as long as you can before you have to put that brick on. Doing a 2-stop with the softer compounds, you're going to have a lot of work to do and fall behind a lot of cars and be aero washed a lot. And it's going to be tough, but it's possible. I just feel like it's the less likely strategy. What do you guys think in the chat? Let me know. We'll take some questions in a second. Predictions. I think we've gone through it. I think Max for pole. I think Mercedes to struggle. Again, we spoke about like downforce not significantly active, the whole mechanical grip thing. I think Mercedes will struggle. So that's easy one for me. I think Oscar will get on top of Lando this weekend, but again, it's going to be how they use and understand the medium compound in practice. That's what I'm looking out for this weekend. Turn 1, lap 1, and restarts. This is a big topic. Restarts, not so much. Let me clear the whiteboard. Restarts, not so much. I went off at Max for not a great restart in Baku. It looked like a good restart, only because Carlos blew it. There was an opportunity for Carlos there. This one's not too bad. All you got to do is open the lap, get the steering wheel straight first, and open the lap on the start finish straight. I don't think you need to do anything more creative than that. Actually, you have to do that because you'll be overtaken otherwise. This is where this is where the checker flag is. This is where you got to start. So your only other option would be 19. I wouldn't recommend that because you're not going to pull away like you would out of a tight corner like 20. If you're feeling super creative and you have the time, 15 would be the best. Area wash your friend through here, area wash him through here. But I'm not sure that the safety car can escape in time. It's going to be tricky to manage, but I think 15 also represents a really good spot to do a restart out of as well. You want to do them out of tight corners so that you can get the steering wheel straight first and run away from your colleague in P2. That one's easy. I'm okay with that. Turn 1, I don't normally talk about a lot. You guys know my philosophy. In turn 1, race 1, lap 1, I'm looking for two things: space and grip. If I can get one or the other, I'll take it. But if I can get both, I'd prefer that. I'd prefer to find a place that has space and grip. I feel like that's going to be on the outside of turn 1. I just feel like a lot of them will go into the apex. You'll get the whole concertina thing. There might be a bit of space around the outside. I would go where the space is, to be honest. It doesn't matter, like however the cars shuffle and whatever. If that space happens to be up the inside, I would take that as well. I think for grip, you don't need to worry too much. The track will be, we got that rain on Sunday morning. So it should be fairly, across here should be fairly consistent. So I'm looking for space. Now we've got a big track width across here, significant track width. And so I'm really looking for space. I don't think the switchback is a play or a big play, because if you do your switchback, if you come out wide on, do your whole short corner and get on throttle early, it's not like you can attack down this straight into a braking zone. You're straight into a set of S's. So if you haven't got your switchback done between here and here, it's all over. So you haven't got much time to pull it off. If you do a switchback, you've got to do a big switchback and try to compete into turn 2. There's no guarantee of like getting it done. So that leads me more towards take the position in turn 1. And if you get a bad exit, who cares? You get a bad exit. Like we'll sort it out at turn 2. So that's how I'd approach it. I'd go for space. I'd go for track position. I wouldn't focus on my turn 1 exit. I'm not interested in it. There's no one's going to attack me into a set of S's, for example. They will be very quickly closed off and it'll be single file through the S's. All right. I needed water and blow my nose and so on. I'm not 100%. Let's take a 2-minute break. I will take your questions after the break. Let's go. All righty. Let's take your questions. Who's got the first one? Umanj. At lower lap time, can Red Bull run a low downforce setup here? Just like how they ran a Monza setup at Silverstone. Also, what will the DEG be like, high or low? Can Red Bull run a low downforce setup? Yes, and I think they will. I think that won't be their problem. Max is good enough to deal with that through the S's and get track position and get in front and aero wash his colleagues. I think Max can do all that. The thing is, like, can the Red Bull turn into the slow speed corners at the back end of the track when downforce is not significantly active? Now, putting on a big rear wing or big front wing to get you through those corners is not necessarily going to help you because of the cornering speeds. When you're doing 90, 80, 75, mate, you can put the biggest front wing you want on the car. The speed is just not enough to really turn it, like to get the most out of it. So that's where I always feel like there's a more of a mechanical element happening there. I think Red Bull have solved for that to the extent that which Max had a strong weekend in Baku and Singapore. I feel like Red Bull have solved. I'd like to think they've solved for that. And that's why I think they can get it done and get it on pole. Yes, I think they will do the low downforce. They're comfortable with that now. They understand it. The curiosity is paying off. They tried it and it worked. And yeah, why not? Red Bull are a race team, so they'll go for it if they get a chance. So yes to the first part. Also, will the deg be like? What will the deg be like, high or low? On which tire? It's tricky to say. It's very hot, and something's telling me high. It's very hot, and you got the aero wash thing to consider, like big aero wash this year. So I'd say high, but there hasn't been many races where the deg has been low. I mean, maybe there have been. I don't know. I just feel like it doesn't really matter. If I'm in front of you, my deg doesn't matter relative to yours. I'm going to aero wash you and good luck trying to pass me. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't matter if your deg's slightly better than mine. Like I'll aero wash you so much that your deg's going to be worse than mine. So that's how I read it. Does that make sense? If one car has better deg than the other, but he's behind, it's not helpful. You need one lap performance. So I'm not sure, and I don't think it matters. A lot of people do race run analyses and, oh, this is the long run pace. And I'm like, have you not been watching this year? Like, it's a performance championship. Like, it's very hard to overtake this year, very hard. And so that's why in the sprints, my focus is just getting a good lap in quali and getting as high up the grid as possible. Sort the rest out on race day. So yeah. Fair enough. Okay. Baku had low deg and aero wash. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Any more questions? Surely we got a couple more. Let me just read. I'm scrolling around. Wow, there's a lot here. You guys give me advice on which pills to take for my hay fever. Barbara, what can be the most problematic thing for rookies like Kota? Really good question. That's a good question. I don't think there's too much to watch out for in terms of walls and stuff. You know, it's not like you're going to stack it in the wall and you're going to ruin your weekend and your confidence is going to go down. I think what they need to get, like, it's the whole technical corners piece. Like, it'll be unusual if they drop the car on the track and they're happy in the S's, they're happy in the hairpins, they're happy in the slow speed increasing and decreasing radius, they're happy on the back end of the track. There's going to be a problem in a corner somewhere. The track is so big and so technical that there'll be a problem somewhere. And I think what will be the most problematic thing for the rookies is, do they understand that corner type and how can they problem solve and get themselves out of that trouble and clean up that particular corner? Let me give an example. They're strong in the first sector, first set of S's, and then they can't turn into the turn 11 hairpin and the slow speed at the back end of the track. So it's, yeah, maybe the tire temperatures in the first sector, maybe it's something mechanical, maybe it's just the balance of the car, it could be the line in some of the corners, the way we spoke about using the gears and downshifts and engine braking, and it's going to be all of that problem solving. If it's the reverse, obviously there's a problem in the high speed, then, you know, you got to go through your solutions that way. I just feel like there's two stories to this track. There's the high speed, high downforce, significantly active. And then you got the slower speed where downforce is not significant. You've got to use different tools and different driving skills. So it's going to be that contrast that you're looking for. I think that might be problematic for rookies. That being said, like, it's not as difficult as a wet race, not as difficult as a night race, not as difficult as like a street track like Monaco or Melbourne, for example. So I feel like it's not that bad. You can make mistakes and it's fine. I just think also the sprint weekend will present challenges. Like, how many of them are going to be on the front foot and saying, oh, I don't care about the hard, I don't want to see it. Let me practice on the tire I'm going to qualify on. That will be hard for the rookies as well, I think. If they're running around on the hard and then they go into Q1, a sprint Q1 on the medium, and they're like, oh, I couldn't get the tires to work. It's hard to blame a rookie in that case, but there's definitely something they can do to say to the team, like, forget this hard nonsense. Give me the tire I'm going to be assessed on. Next question. Did you see Lewis giving advice to Oscar to never give up positions ever again, or maybe not accept team orders ever again? I didn't see that. Tell me, where did you see that? And where was that? Like, was it in an interview or was it just like text, like an article? I didn't see that. It's interesting. That's what I said at the start of the show. I'm like, forget about McLaren, forget about the rules, forget about pile rubbish, whatever. Crack on with this championship and clean up your racecraft. I think that's what Oscar needs to do. I agree with that. I think Oscar's been very good up to this point in that area. Very cordial, trying to do the right thing. Here's the thing, right? McLaren are an engineering team. They don't understand racing on the pit wall. Clearly, they don't get it. But they're great engineers. And Oscar's one of us. Oscar's a racing driver. Oscar's a killer. Oscar's a machine. Oscar wants to go out there and win races and championships and put it all on the line. And he's being held back by this team that's like, just doesn't get it. That doesn't want to let them race and wants to micromanage everything and try to control the uncontrollables, and they're getting in the way and it ruins everything. So like, yeah, I feel like that's the problem. I didn't see the advice. Let me know where you saw it. Rosa Cobero, will this be a Monza repeat? No. Monza's chicanes. Like you need downforce in the S's here, but there's not too many places. I don't think so. Totally different tracks. And the curbs aren't really a thing here as well. I mean, it might be like potentially, but I would say based on the leveraging my technical corners knowledge, I'd say no. And it's a sprint weekend as well. No, I don't think so. Frank Widge-Devon. These downshifts are almost a structural problem with the Red Bull. I'm not across the downshifts. Another one here, MV Sim Racing. Yeah, I wonder what the downshift issues just keep coming up. I'm not sure, but then Max went on to say it's the upshifts now as well. I don't know exactly. Maybe something I have to dig into. Maybe it's how clean they shift. Maybe it's a bit clunky. I have no idea. Someone in the audience has to know. If you do know, drop it in the chat. I'm reading through your comments right now. Zabtej, is it the case that if you adjust one corner style significantly, it has a ripple effect on affecting your other corners? So maybe you have to take even the first corner differently to prepare the fifth. Let me try to make sense of your question. If you adjust one, I mean, you're saying two different things here. If you adjust one corner style significantly, I'm thinking something on the other side of the track compared to a totally other corner. It has a ripple effect in affecting your other corners. So maybe you have to take the first corner differently to prepare the fifth. I think what you're trying to say is if the corners are linked in a sequence like a set of S's, doesn't matter how you take the first one, that's going to impact the fifth. I'm not a big fan of that philosophy and approach because it's a terrible word that comes up in racing and it says, oh, I sacrificed turn 4 for turn 5. That word doesn't actually make sense because if you're sacrificing somewhere, it means you're losing time in that area. What, to gain it back through turn 5? Yeah, but it's like, it just doesn't make sense in my mind. I like the word optimize. I'm optimizing this sequence of corners, not sacrificing one, because that just says like you don't care about that corner, and it's not like I want to find a way where I can keep my lap time in that corner and I can keep my entry and keep my exit. I want to keep both. I want to optimize the whole situation. I don't want to sacrifice any lap time anywhere. So I don't like the word sacrifice, but I think that's what you're alluding to. And I guess you're suggesting like, yeah, there's a way to optimize, but then you might think you're optimizing, but you're not. We spoke about this at turn 8. I'll go over to the whiteboard. You might think that you're going to sacrifice your exit in 7 so that you can stay tight in 8. Well, that would be wrong. Sorry, sacrifice your exit in 7 so that you can open up 8. That would be wrong. I don't want you to do that. I would say carry good speed through 7, drive straight and take a tight line into 8. You'll be faster through both of them. I like that. That's a more elegant solution, isn't it? So I don't need to do any sacrificing. I'll hammer you in 7 because I got more road I can run out to. And I'll hammer you in 8 as well because I'm there earlier and first. And you might think, well, I've compromised my exit for 9. Not necessarily. Like I can still straighten the wheel and get out of here. Yeah, maybe you're going to gain like a little bit, but you're going to struggle to get into turn 8 from that position. So this is negligible for me. So does that make sense? Optimize is better. I can't spell. Optimize is better than compromise. Does that make sense? Don't fall into that trap. Whenever you hear drivers or anyone say, oh, I sacrificed this corner for that one, you know they've got no idea about racing. Make sense? Huddy Mac, Mercedes has a new weird front wing. It seems they solved their straight line speed. Do you think George will be in the mix? Yeah, I saw that talk about the flexi wing in Singapore and that it was flexing. I saw the onboards. I noticed it myself as well. I'm like, oh, it's flexing quite a lot. but didn't think much of it. Singapore is not a track where it's like, if you flexi wing, you're going to kill it. You know, it's just one little straight. So I didn't think it was a big deal. But I saw there's talk about it. Maybe it's a story we'll follow this weekend. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, we'll see. If it is significant, then it will show up here. There's plenty of places where that can help here. The pit straight and the back straight and the run between 9 and 11 as well. I'll keep an eye out for it. I don't know any more other than I saw it flexing. Question, how to overtake turn 12 and 13? Where's that? It's tricky. I'll go over. I wouldn't put it as my... Why not into 12? What's it got to do with 13? Under braking into 12 on the inside with the DRS. But the work for that, if you want to do that into 12, the work for that starts back at turn 8. So you've got to master the whole tight line thing, get out of the aero wash, blah, 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 get the slipstream here and here. So if you want to tack into 12, you need to work out 8. That's what Lando didn't work out last year. 12 and 8 are friends. I know I'm drawing everywhere. I'll clean this up a little bit. So what's it got to do with 13? If I get you up the inside into 12, I'll just sweep out, claim the whole track and defend into 13. So I don't see like 13 is... It's not a story for me. Let me know why you think 13 is important in that. iRacing Aussie. Hello from Perth, WA, your hometown mate. Hello, how you doing? Does this season have a ring to it, like 2010 with Webber? And do you think Oscar has multiple race wins left in him for the last races? Let me just come back to me for a sec. Does this season have a ring to it with 2010? In 2010, I feel like it was a lot closer and a lot more different constructors were in the mix. I feel like this is just McLaren with Max kind of knocking on the door. If anything, I see it as like an intra-team battle of politics. Maybe you could argue 2010 was that with Vettel Webber, but 2010 had Alonso in there and there were other, McLaren were in there for a bit as well. So like there were more constructors. So from that standpoint, I don't see, maybe I'm not reading it the way you do. I see it like it's an inter-team battle. This looks like 2016 Mercedes going at it. Hamilton wins, Rosberg wins, Rosberg wins, Hamilton wins, Hamilton wins, Rosberg wins. And they just go at it all the way to the end until they knock each other out. That has more parallels for me. But I understand if you're talking about 2010 from Webber Vettel perspective. Do I think Oscar has multiple race wins left in him? Absolutely. And I hope he views it that way as well. I hope he swings freely. I spoke about it earlier in the live stream. Be free, Oscar. Don't tighten up and play tense and play conservative. Be free, mate. Go for it. Go for gaps that exist. Go for gaps that don't exist. Put it on the line in qualifying. Trust yourself, back yourself and get it done. That's what Oscar's going to have to do. I think last couple of races, he's been a bit tight. Like a tennis player on match point. He's been a little bit like, oh, I just want to keep the ball in. And when you do that, you end up hitting it out. So I just encourage Oscar, go for it, mate. The sky's the limit, and go back to the driving that got you in this position. You see things like the jump start in Baku, very uncharacteristic. That tells you he's feeling the pressure at this point. And the mistake in Baku showed desperation. So it was like, he's feeling it. And I don't blame him for feeling it. He's human. He's going for his first world championship in his 3rd year. That's amazing. And my only advice would be just be free, Oscar. Play free. He who plays freest is going to win this one. So that's all I'd say to try to help. And yeah, I'll try to analyze his lap. If you guys have the sprint quali lap, send it through to me straight away. Oscar's sprint lap from tomorrow, sprint qualifying lap, I will have a look at it and try to do a piece on it. Help as much as I can in my own way, even if it doesn't see it. Hey Martin, I joined late. Do you love Sector 1 of Austin as much as me? Yeah, a set of S's is always good. A set of S's is mad. You only get 3 in the year: Silverstone, Suzuka, and Austin. That's it. So out of 24 tracks, you got 3 sets of S's. Not a great strike rate. So whenever I get a set of S's, I'm like, yeah, I'm watching. Super chat from MA Khan, $2. £2. Thank you. Hadjar uses a tight line, short corner, or geometric line? Good question. Where have I watched Hadjar drive? I don't. Honestly, I haven't watched him in enough situations and enough circumstances and under enough pressure to be able to tell you that. Like, okay, I could probably rule out tight line because Leclerc's the only one that, like, tight line is very rare. And if you know that, you're on another level. And only Leclerc knows that at the moment in my book. So I haven't watched Isaac enough to know, but I find it unlikely he'd know about the tight line. The short corner, I don't even think it's that quick. I don't like the short corner. I think the short corner is the aerodynamics stop working. The downforce drops out of the car. So if I draw a long corner, give me a sec. It's better on this view because you guys don't want to see me. If I draw a long corner and I draw like a geometric racing line, let me make that bigger. A geometric racing line. We're going this way. And I draw a short corner in blue, like that. When the downforce drops out of the car, this minimum speed here might be, say, 55. Whereas the geometric minimum, it might keep minimum speed active, say 80. So when the downforce drops out of the car, and I'm exaggerating here, like to show you the effect, the difference in the short corner. When the downforce drops out of the car, I'm not a big fan of the short corner. I think there are better ways to go through a corner. I like to use it in the wet or recommend it in the wet. It's exactly what you want to do in the wet. Keep the steering wheel straight under braking, rotate somewhere off the rubber, get the steering wheel straight on track. It's exactly what you want to do in the wet. This is why, if you haven't seen my Brazil 2024 analysis, this is why how Max caned everyone in the wet, was by leveraging this. So I don't think it's tight line because I'd be surprised if he's aware of it as a rookie. I don't think it's short corner because I don't even like the short corner. I don't even think it's that good anymore. Like, not to, at least not to this extent. I mean, there's difference in extents, right? You can do like that could be considered a short corner. And then you can do like a super short corner, which is like, do you know what I mean? It's different. You can go short and shorter and shortest. Actually, have you seen my, give me a sec. I'll bring it up because this is interesting. My Spain analysis. Where is it? Give me a sec. Give me 2 seconds, man. I'll get this for you. Where is it, Martin? It's clips and images. Spain. Where's Spain? Spain. There it is. Oh, yeah, there it is. Turn 12. Check this out. So that's Oscar. That's Max. And that's Lando. I don't know if you caught that, but they got shorter. They got progressively shorter corners as we came through shot. Oscar's leading the race, mind you. And this is essentially my argument. Forget the short corner, it's rubbish. This is in a long corner of constant radius, turn 12. Have a look at like the radio sign as a reference or the curb as a reference. Oscar slides through here. And it's in a way, it's a short corner, but it's not the shortest. So he does is obviously Oscar leading the race, not too short. You see that difference, the way Leclerc slides into shot there? I'm a fan of that. So this video will go on and on. So the answer is I'm not sure, but if I had to just go through and cross some out and like by process of elimination, I just think he's driving nice and smooth. I've done a small piece on Hajar and he just turns the wheel in with one nice smooth motion. He drives it like it's a sim. He's just driving the car very smooth with the steering wheel. That's the only insight I can give at the moment. But when he gets to the front of the grid, we'll do a bit more on that. All right, last question. Richard, is it going to be the last question? Give me a sec. I'll just see if there's any other good ones. Yeah, you guys are talking amongst yourselves. Huddy Mac, if you're driving a tight line, does that mean you need to have more front grip on the car? No, it's the opposite. If you're driving wide, sweeping big lines, you're trying to carry more speed in. That's when you need more front grip. That's why Max keeps complaining about front grip. Give me more grip, because I'm trying to turn in from all the way over here and I got to make it in. Whereas if you didn't have to ask the car to do so much work and cover so much distance and change direction so quickly, then you wouldn't need so much front grip. So there are ways you can get to the apex quicker. There was another question here. Sorry, I brought it up before, but I lost it now. I'll take a couple more. Why not? Stay for another 10 minutes. Oh, where was the question? Just keep asking it in the chat because I can't find it. Sorry, there's heaps here. Yeah, Luke Man says Oscar needs to learn how to use the tight line. You've been a member for 3 months. Congrats and thank you. Yeah, there's a few more questions here. I'm just reading them. Would you ever do a full video about driver styles? So interested to know your opinion on rookies like Hadjar, Bortoleto, and Behrman. When they get to the sharp end, like honestly, for me to do it at the level that I'm happy with and be able to say to you guys, okay, this is how they're driving. I've watched them. I've been studying them in these types of corners. Like for me to put together that story, I really need to watch them. And I can't watch all 20 drivers on the grid. Like, sorry, it is hard. I just try to watch the sharp end and give you guys the insights into like how Max, Charles, Oscar is driving, like what you saw there at turn 12. When they get to the sharp end and they grow up, then I'll do it. Don't worry. Isn't the difference in those corners partially to avoid dirty air? I need more context. What corners? Yes, avoiding dirty air is helpful, but what corners? Instinct. It's not instinct after you've run the track 1,000 times. Respect the work. I can't scroll up. Give me a sec. When will you do a cornering chat with Peter Windsor? I don't know. Every time I've seen him on a podcast, it's not much of a chat. He just swallows the conversation, which I don't like. You've got to listen to both parties. But if he wants to do one, I'll do one. Question. Track hasn't been resurfaced for some years now. Will we see more bouncer? Yeah, good question. Potentially, it could be very bumpy with the whole, I don't know, I guess there's like clay underneath the track and it shrinks and swells and makes it bumpy. That's a really good question. That means Ferrari are going to run into trouble because they're struggling to run the car so low and they've got to raise the car and all this rubbish. So maybe that could be a factor this weekend. Yes, a good one. I'm trying to scroll up because I know you guys are asking questions, but I'm only getting the most recent 3. Oh no, I'm free now. Okay. Just tuned in. Have you covered the topic of tire strategies? Yes, I have. I need some skooma. Yes, I have. Luke Man, question. Will Oscar learn the tight line from Martin? I think it's unlikely at the moment that any drivers are watching my channel. So I would lean towards no, but that won't stop me trying to help him. Give me a sec. Martin needs shortcuts. Martin needs shortcuts, tight line cuts, Ving the cuts, and long cuts for his clips and cuts. Thanks, Max. All right, last question. This one's going to be the last one. Here we go. Peter won't be too happy about it. It's a comment. It'll be fun and interesting. Okay. No more questions. Going once. Going twice. Here it is. Last question. How did Hamilton lose tight line so much? Like it's like he forgot how to drive these days. He used to be the OG tight line merchant. Very good observation. He did indeed. He did. Hamilton I want to say like invented the tight line. He was the master of that. I don't know what happened. But what I would say is the tight lines are very unique. Like it's a card in your hand that you need to be able to just play at the right time. It's not like you just drive tight lines everywhere and you're going to be quick. It's not that simple. Like what Peter says, always just short corners. And it doesn't work like that. You can only drive a short corner in a long corner like I drew before. You can't drive a short corner in a set of S's or a chicane. It doesn't work like that. So you can't just say Hamilton should just go back to tight lines again. It's not that simple. You need to play a tight line when, this will be the last question because my voice is starting to go. You need to play a tight line when it calls for it, when there's a significant track with direction change, slow speed, all that jazz into a long corner. I'm just looking at the track map. So you've got to be able to, hit a forehand when the ball comes to your forehand and hit a backhand when it comes to your forehand and serve and slice and volley. And you've got to be able to speak multiple languages out there. So how did he forget? I don't know. But if you watch Silverstone, he was doing really well. I thought he did a good weekend in Silverstone. He was one of the only ones, him and Leclerc, getting into turn 3 and 4 really nicely with the tight line where Max was struggling. Can I find it? Let me just maybe find it and show it to you guys. Yes, I have it. Look at this, colours. Come on, colours. Look at the quality here. All right, here's Lewis. Turn 3. Look at that. Beautiful tight line. Doesn't go to the extent of the edge of the racetrack in order to turn into this corner. I like that. And I think that's a good approach. There you see it. He's not trying to use all the track width and be greedy. He gets in here. Again, the whole compromise, optimize, sacrifice rubbish. Like getting into turn 3 is more of a priority if it's turn 3 than your exit of 3 if you don't get into it. Have a look at Max. This is why I say I'm not fully confident Max understands this principle, because he doesn't get the nose into turn 3. And he tries to get to the edge of the track as much as possible. Like this is the whole thing about Driver 61's video that doesn't stack with me. Have a look at this. The car is pointing. Let me bring it over to the whiteboard. You asked a good question, so I'll give you a good answer. Hopefully. I'm going to screenshot this and bring it over to the whiteboard. Look how quickly I work, cuz. Look at that. Bang, straight into it. All right. Max's car is in red, pointing away from where he wants to go. And the tight line says, don't do that. Don't be dumb. Keep the car straight, square, and turn in, resume like that. Clear? So if I go back to the video, the reason Max can't get into this corner is because of that reason. He's overloading and sliding the front tires. Cool. Thank you guys for coming along. Sorry, I'm a little bit sick. Yes, guys, don't talk like stuff like this, please. Keep it clean in here. Otherwise, I'll kick you out of the chat. I don't know what you guys are talking about because I don't know the context, but don't swear. Thank you guys for coming. If you watch anything this weekend, watch for the way the guys build themselves a weekend. So I'm looking for who's going to use the medium, understand it, and then, use it to its full extent in sprint qualifying. Thank you so much for coming. Keep an eye out for that and the tight line and everything, and Max being a machine in the S's. We'll see you guys tomorrow.